Hey guys,
Okay.
I'm Ryan,
And I'm Katie.
and this is the list. This is our first podcast, so it's going to be a little rough, but we're going to get through it together. And
We've already had a couple of hiccups, but we're getting through it.
we're just going to have fun. You want to tell them a little bit about the premise of our podcast?
Yes, so Ryan and I are starting a podcast that we're tentatively calling The List. What we're doing first is we're watching the top 100 movies of all time. It was something Ryan and I had decided to do together, and then we were like, why don't we just chit chat about it on a podcast and occasionally bring other people in? So that's where we're starting.
Yeah, so we're going to start with these films, and eventually, if we enjoy doing it and decide to keep doing it, it will evolve into other things, not just movies. It'll be I don't know, food, places to go, things to read, lots of things that we can do. And I mean, the potential is ginormous. So
Limitless. You just say limitless.
limitless.
You had a beautiful opportunity there to say
Yeah.
limitless.
I'm not a word person, which is
That's my
not a
job.
good idea for a podcast.
It's okay.
But-
That's my job. I'll take care of the words.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's why
I'll pronounce them wrong, but
That's why we hired a writer.
that's right.
So basically, we did not make this list. We went to IMDB and got we just Googled 100 greatest movies of all time, and we just started from the bottom. So we are at number 100. We've watched that together, and we're going to talk about it. And we've been kind of thinking about how do you rank movies? How do you evaluate movies? And I think we've come up with four basic premises that we're going to rate the movie on. So the first one's going to be story. The second one's going to be cinematography and acting. And then I guess we've decided that the fourth item is going to be just like that wow or that it factor.
The wow factor that
wow factor,
attracted
is that what
Ryan
we're
to
calling
me. I have that it factor. It's innately inside of me. So I'll be a great judge of that.
That's right.
in
That's
the
right.
movies.
That's right. And if we think of something else, I guess we could add that, but I think we should probably just keep it.
I agree. It's not very rigid. We're just kind of Ryan's more of the like, let's have a structure. I would be more like I liked it or I didn't, and I have no valid reason why. It was just a feeling, and the podcast would be 23 seconds long. So it's good that Ryan's like, no, we have to have some kind of like structure. So those are kind of the like four things we're gonna start with, and then don't worry, we'll meander on down the road with a million different thoughts and feelings about it.
So you want to tell them what the movie is that we watched first?
Yeah, so the first movie we watched is called Yankee Doodle Dandy. I do want to start off by saying we know, at least I will go into all of the movies, no Googling beforehand. I don't want to know anything about a movie. I don't want to know any spoiler alerts. So we went into Yankee Doodle Dandy knowing nothing about it. Having said that, spoiler alert, it's a biopic. And I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you actually did look at that, because when we first started, I was like, where is this going? And then you said, oh, this is a biography.
Yeah.
And when you said that, then it just changed my whole perspective on how I was looking at the movie, because I was like, where is the story going? I don't understand anything that's leading up to anything. And
yeah, and I think we'll probably touch on that later story wise, because it does kind of change the story rating to know it's about somebody's life and it's not like a movie for a movie's sake. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't the same kind of like story structure that you'd have in a novel or in a normal movie. But that being said, it was just kind of a story about this guy named George M. Cohen, and he was like a septuple threat. I don't. Go ahead.
I got a question before you even
go for it.
Start with the synopsis and
Let's
stuff.
go.
before this movie, have you ever even watched a black and white film?
Okay, I
Like this movie is 80. This movie is 81 years old.
it
That's how
was
old this movie is.
it was very old, and I should probably say, just so anybody who decides to listen knows beforehand how to value my opinion, I don't like black and white movies. I will not watch a movie specifically because it's in black and white. I believe you made me watch White Christmas, or
No, that one's in
the
color.
one with the bank failure. It's a Wonderful
Oh,
Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
That's
So
the
that's
only
the
other black and white
only
movie I've
other
ever
black and white
seen.
film you've ever seen.
That's the only one I've ever seen. And so this was a new thing for me. It, I'm not going to say that it took away from the movie for me.
Well, I mean, color does add to the movie,
But
but
visually, it just is a little harder for me to enjoy. Anyway, getting off the topic, but this was not the first black and white movie I'd ever watched, but it
the
is the
second.
second.
All right. Okay. All right.
Well, you've seen a lot though, right?
Yeah. No,
Your parents were like,
you are more prejudiced towards black and white movies than I am.
yeah, I don't. I immediately will be like, let's watch something else.
Anything else.
Anything else. Yeah. And I am also embarrassed to say on that topic that I had no idea who George Cohan, I think I'm saying it wrong, was.
George M. Cohan,
and yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, Ryan and I, we actually met during a musical. And we were both in a musical. I like love the theater. I love going to musicals. I love acting. We lived right outside of New York City for quite a few years and went to Broadway a lot. And I had no clue who this man was. So we go into this movie blind. And all we know is this is the last movie on the list. Let's take a peek. And halfway through, I'm like, we have a no phone rule, but I was like, pause it. I need to Google something real quick. And I was like, is George M. Cohan a real person? He is. He is a real person. And so it was a movie about his life. Don't let that deter you from watching it. It was still good.
No, I mean, so like, being the theater nerd that you were.
It's embarrassing.
Maybe. Yeah,
I hope my theater teacher from high school doesn't hear this.
I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard of him either.
Sorry, Mr. Reiner.
He is a big deal.
Like, yeah, a big deal.
He's the only playwright actor to have a statue in Times Square.
And I kind of like want to go back to the city and find it now.
Yeah, I don't ever remember seeing that when we went to Times Square.
Me either.
And he is probably one of the most prolific.
I did see that guy dressed as a baby though. So I didn't see the statue of George Cohan.
You saw a real life person dressed as a baby.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
No, but he's prolific playwright and actor, and I was looking it up, and he wrote over more than 50 plays that were like, and most of them were big hits on Broadway.
Right.
And so it's really, I think the film is really a tribute to not only his life, but a bunch of the musical numbers that he wrote, as well as a lot of his plays.
It was almost kind of like a love letter to that era of like the USA too. Like it was very quietly patriotic. It wasn't like this is a movie about patriotism in America, but it was very much like an undercurrent of like, this person gave us a lot of things. Like there would be songs playing, like, of course now the only one I can think of is Yankee Doodle Dandy, but Grand Old Flag.
Yeah,
like the song would come on and I would be like, there's no way that this song that I've known my entire life is written by this man I'm watching this movie about, but we would Google and it's he's written it. So
I mean, Give My Regards to Broadway. I mean, that's a super famous song. And then that Over There song, I think, was the
Over There, Over There. And and I won't spoil it or anything, but there are a lot of really touching moments, like because it happened around the war, and there are a lot of touching moments like in that regard. Like I don't know how sensitive we are about spoiler alerts.
I don't think it's a spoiler. I don't think you can really spoil this movie because it's it's a biography.
Right. That's true.
And you're right. I think it starts off with the guy basically being born on the 4th of July, kind of like it says
Yeah, right.
in the Yankee Doodle Dandy song.
So you
Uh,
asked me to give a
but
synopsis of the movie, and
yeah,
I like went everywhere. I'm sorry.
that's
So
okay.
yes, we
No,
should
no.
probably rewind back
But you're
and
right. No, it kind of starts out that and then kind of
yeah,
gradually shows his life and all his works and his plays.
yeah,
And then, um, you know, eventually he won the Congressional Medal of Honor for his contribution in his plays and his music that he wrote for basically inspiring, keeping up the morale for soldiers in the World War.
right. And he was the
And
first person in that like line of work to ever receive a Congressional Medal of Honor.
yeah,
Um,
which is
so
a big deal. It's not
yeah,
like
really
this
big deal.
reward that you give to
Yeah, they
anybody,
hand them
right?
out willy nilly.
Yeah, no, 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 definitely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
And
so it kind of starts off as this movie of like this kid who's born on the 4th of July, and then it's like a peek into his life as a young kid, and he's a spoiled brat basically.
mhm.
Star very much like he thinks he's the world revolves around him, and then you kind of get to see
Even though,
him. Go ahead, sorry.
yeah, I was going to say, even though his family were all
Talented
actors,
actors,
and
yeah,
they
his whole
just
family
performed in
acted.
any little town and stage that they
Right.
could get to, and it sounded like they were probably not very well off,
No, but they
but
were
very
good at what they
talented.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so you get to see him kind of evolve from this spoiled brat into somebody who wants to take care of his family and wants to make his own name, and you get to watch him work really hard. It's very much like a bootstraps, like make your own name kind of story, the American dream. And he he starts to make a name for himself, and then the war happens and he wants to be drafted, and they're like, you can't do that. And he's like,
mm,
well, I'm going to find a way to contribute. And that's when he writes Over There.
yeah. And I think that's kind of the theme of the whole movie. Honestly, it's like this, like you were saying, it's quietly patriotic, but it also is kind of a tribute to a guy who really kind of came from nothing and
Right.
then made his way and became very well off, very famous. Kind of the American dream,
Yeah.
someone who can, yeah, lift himself up from the dust and become something through hard work and persistent and talent. And
Yeah.
I really think that is kind of like the overarching theme, because that was the overarching theme in a lot of his plays,
Yeah.
and they kind of represented that in this biography of his life, because he was that person
I
that he wrote in
haven't
his
read
plays.
anything like after it. I don't know how accurate it is. I'm assuming it's accurate.
So
If so, they did a very good job. Like, I just thought it was very well done.
yeah, I did do a little bit of research, and that's pretty
That
accurate.
doesn't surprise me
And
that you did research and I didn't.
the only thing that the only thing that they were saying wasn't accurate was he was not born on the 4th of July.
Oh, that
Uh,
bums me out. That
but it
bums
goes
me
with the
out
theme of the movie.
so
Yeah.
much.
So,
No.
but
I hate that.
apparently he was this, like, this you know uh, New Yorker. I mean, New York attitude, like, kind of tough to get along with, and so,
Yeah.
uh, but he did it.
So is that story wise? What are we rating? What would
I,
you rate that then?
so the story for me, it's not the traditional story that I would typically see in most movies, and that's, I think, mostly because of the format of the movie. I think it was just like a sampling of little parts of his life that were really significant, but mostly I feel like it was a lot of tribute to his plays and his music. And if you're a person who does not enjoy musicals and dancing and that type of thing, you're probably going to be kind of bored in a lot of parts of this movie. But
Yeah.
I will say, like, it makes sense. right? So to me, the story is not as interesting as a typical movie, but the story of his life is very interesting. What about you?
Well, what was you? Are you giving it a number? Or are you just saying overall positive?
We can give it a number if you want to. It's just kind of middle of the road for me. 5, 6,
Okay.
6,
Story wise,
6
like
out
I
of
said,
10.
halfway through, I was on the same page as you. I was like, where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
I've studied story structure because of the novels that I write, and I'm like, we're not hitting the beats, right? It
Yeah.
changed for me once I found out it was a biography, a biopic. I was like, okay, I get it, and it was my mind stopped trying to find the like important points and the marks that usually come with a movie. I was able to enjoy it a little bit more then. Um, I I will say there were at least 2 times that I was like, it's enough with the musicals, and I
Mm-hmm.
say that as somebody who sings
All the
an
time.
inordinate amount of time. Like I sing everything. I'm known for being able to take anything anyone says and turn that into a song. Coming from me, I thought this is a little much. So I'm gonna
It's a
go.
lot.
It was a lot, and I will say, despite that, there were not many times that I wanted to reach for my phone and wanted to like do something else while I was watching, which is a huge indicator for me. If I'm looking for my phone to go onto like to Twitter or whatever to like mess around while I'm watching, that means the story is not doing well. And there were very few times, and it was mostly during musicals that I felt that way. I'm going to be a little more generous and say 6.5 on the story for me.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I feel like the dancing and the music, and if it was almost out of context type of deal, right? It
Yeah.
was kind of jumping from here to there, and so it was really hard to get into the music and because it didn't really relate to the story except to kind of showcase some of the famous stuff that he did,
Right.
and that's what was kind of difficult for me. But having said that, holy cow, James
They were
Cagney!
well done.
I've never seen any James Cagney movies before, but the man could dance. He's got some
So
moves like crazy.
I found out that he used to play a lot of gangsters, like back in
Mm-hmm.
the day. He was
Mm-hmm.
like known for it, I guess. And
Yeah,
that this is the only movie he was like recognized for award wise. I can't remember if it was an Oscar. I can't remember what it was. But this
really.
is the movie that he won Best Actor in, I believe.
Yeah, I think.
Um
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, so I think that just he did a phenomenal job, I guess is what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying. If you told me that man was George Cohan, I would have believed you. So he did a
Yeah.
good job.
I mean, the man. I mean, it's really like one of those vaudeville things where it's like
Yeah.
all like focused on the main actor, the individual, and
Yeah.
I mean, he can sing, he can dance, he plays instruments. I mean, he's got some pretty good acting chops. I
Hmm.
mean, I was kind of blown away by like how much talent that one person had compared
I
to
wanna
everybody else.
I want to
Go
address
ahead.
something though. I do want
Okay.
to address something. Because we're talking about the actor. I thought maybe we were moving on to the cinematography score, but if we're going to talk about the
Hmm.
actor, can I just say that there was a serious burden on the audience to have a severe suspension of disbelief that this man was 18 at one point in this
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah.
He like,
No,
there's this shtick that they have where he's talking to this girl and he's in this grandpa makeup, has his grandpa beard on and his grandpa hair on, and he's like, I'm a grandpa. And then he does this slow reveal of like taking the stuff off. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually an 18-year-old. And I'm like, okay, when's the rest? When's the rest of the
yeah,
costume coming off?
that's
Grandpa is like,
yeah.
dude is like solidly our age. And
Hmm.
I'm like, nobody's
Oh,
gonna buy us playing an 18
older.
year old. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was like, it literally pulled me out of the story. I was like,
yeah,
impossible.
yeah,
That did not happen.
and I think that's just that's just film of that time, right? They didn't
Yeah.
get other actors to play those, and
Right.
especially black and
Thankfully, he
white,
didn't play
it's
the
hard
kid,
to.
but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Anyway, I just wanted
even
to address
even when they
that
had him as
because
an old man, it was hard for me to believe that he was an old man.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's very stage acty, which is
yeah,
great. We love stage acting. But it was hard to buy in a movie, I guess is what I'm saying. Once we got past that and he was in like his 30s and 40s, I was like, okay, I'm with you now, buddy. But
yeah, yeah.
18,
But
no, no.
as far as acting go, what would you score?
Uh, there was there were very few moments where I remembered he was acting. And that's another indicator to me that I'm watching something great is that I'm not going, this guy's a great actor. I'm just in it. Do you know what I
You're
mean?
just
I'm
you're
like,
just like there with him the whole time.
it is
Yeah.
happening in front of me and I'm witnessing it somehow through some like magic portal. Like there's no thinking about it. It's
Hmm.
happening. His acting was superb. It was
Yeah.
very good. It was a specific type of acting. Like it is a very like theater acting,
Hmm.
but so well done.
Yeah.
I guess we're doing a number for acting. If we're going, I mean, I don't know. Everybody in it was so good. I'm giving it an 8.5.
Yeah, I would say that's way up there for me as far as yeah, 8.5, 9. Uh, I'm gonna say 9.
Yeah.
Uh, there were some weird acting
Like what?
scenes, like the guy with the weird mouth. Well, that was another
What was
highlight.
he doing?
Like you'll have to
He
watch.
like
You'll
he
have to
had
watch
the
that.
you'll know the minute you see it. If you go watch it, you'll know exactly what we're
And he
talking
had
about.
this
But he does this
lisp,
like
and he was spitting everywhere. And
I'm gonna be better than you, she. And I was
yeah,
like, this guy's doing. It wasn't
yeah,
just that; it was the way he was holding his mouth.
yeah.
It was very
So
cartoony.
some of that was kind of
Yeah,
weird, but
but he did it
it was
well.
entertaining. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm up there with you too. 8.5,
Yeah,
9. I'm going to give it a little bit more, as
yeah.
9, just because the other talents that he displayed, not only just with the acting, with the
That's a good
singing, the
point.
dancing. That I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see actors nowadays
No.
doing those things, especially all in
No.
one film. It's
Yeah.
you just don't see it.
And when they're filming that kind of stuff, I don't know how it worked way back then. Like if there was a voice track placed over what was happening. Like I don't know how when that stuff started happening. Do you know what I mean? Or if it
Yeah.
was like a one take kind of thing where everybody had to hit their marks and do their dance and hit their vocals. If that's
Hmm.
the case, I'm blown away. Like
I,
it
th-
was
I
so
think
well
this. I
done.
think this. A lot of the singing parts was voiced over
Added in. Yeah. Okay. Either
afterwards,
way,
but everything
beautiful.
else,
Beautifully done.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So now we talk about
um,
cinematography, I guess, which I feel
yeah,
really, really like
you have a
great
lot
about
of.
because it was black and white.
Yeah,
already a
I'm
-1.
I am not a cinematographer.
Yeah.
I'm not
We're lay
probably an
people,
expert
okay?
to look at angles of cameras and lenses and so it's hard for me to really evaluate this one. But I would say I did not see any difference in it than most other films that I saw that I can
Like you
think of.
think the quality is like up to
Like there's
par with
some
something
films
we could
like you'll watch
watch?
like The Matrix, like
Yeah.
whoa, I've never
Yeah,
seen
okay,
anything
so what
like
you're
that in
saying is
another
like
film.
it's
But
just good. It's not
it's
like
it's yeah, 5, 6 for me.
yeah. I'm gonna say I give it a little higher, which is surprising because it's black and white, and
Hmm.
immediately I don't like that. But just because they did, I don't know if this would be more under like blocking, but the way they managed to film like the um the musical parts was
Yeah.
really well done. Like having everybody, you know, do like the way the camera would pan over people as they did their parts back to back and the dancing and the way it made you feel like you were watching something on a stage and then the little quiet intimate moments where he's like talking to the president or I thought it
Hmm.
was well done, but you're right. I do actually still feel like it would probably be at a 5 for me too. It would have been at a 3. if not for the awesome musical parts. But just because you're right, it's not a movie that's about the cinematography.
Yeah.
That's not why it's on the
Well, I
list.
mean, you got to think too. I mean, this film's
Yeah,
81
true.
years old.
Right.
Film was
Even
just really
so,
starting.
there are no
But even
moments where
there's
you're
no
like,
moments
how
where I
did
was
they
like, "What is
manage
this?"
that? How did they do that? That perspective, and like, how have they done this chase scene or whatever? It was never anything like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just not about the cinematography in this movie. It
yeah.
just is a good story about somebody's life.
For me, the wow factor was huge on this movie, especially with it being as old as it was. When you're talking about the the musical numbers and stuff, like it was so elaborate. Like
Yeah.
just the sheer number of people they had, the scenery, the I don't know, the things they had them doing on stage. Like
The
to me,
costumes.
like they spared no expense on this film. Uh, I bet you this film cost them a ton of money to make just because of that. 81 years ago, and to me, that was the big wow factor. Like you don't see that. You don't see that in movies anymore.
You said that a lot while we were watching it. You were like, I don't know that I could name a movie like this that has been
No,
created
I really can't.
recently.
No,
Yeah.
or ever.
Well,
I
people
don't
don't
know.
really make movies like this anymore, I don't think. Even if it were, well, I guess that's not true. I guess that maybe the modern day thing would not be a movie, but would be like a documentary on Taylor Swift's life that came out, was like following her. But it's not it's a documentary, right? So I don't
Yeah,
know. I
or
don't
if
know if
it's
it's
a film,
comparable.
I can think of some films that are based on somebody's life, but there's an overlying
There's always a plot
arching
now. You're right.
story as
Yeah.
well as some tension points for the characters.
Let's ramp it up about the love story. Let's have this happen. Let's have that happen.
Right.
There are more liberties taken. You're right.
It's
It
different.
becomes way more focused in
Yeah.
on the plot versus the character driven
Yeah.
side of the
This was
story.
more focused on events and things that this person had done rather than on the actual character themselves, I
Yeah.
felt like. But uh, for me, the wow factor is like a 9.
That kind of blows my mind. I don't
Really,
know.
for what they had to work with back then, I just
Yeah.
find it like you don't have CGI back then. You don't have all these other things.
True. That's true.
But I mean, they had a horse on the stage
Yeah.
in the Yankee Doodle Dandy scene, along
Yeah,
with
that's a
all
good
these
point.
people decked out in the most elaborate
Yeah.
costumes, dancing, doing all this crazy stuff. At, I just haven't seen that in a film
Yeah.
in a really, really long time, if ever.
That's true.
So,
I don't know what to say about the wow factor for me. I feel like that's always going to be emotional for me. Like I feel like I
fair.
feel like I'm always going to judge wow factor a little emotionally, like on how it hit me emotionally. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. No,
But
that's fair.
I don't know. Then I'm so impressionable too, and you're like, but it was so nice, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, it really
That's why I was trying to ask you
was,
first, but
because he knows 16
no.
years, he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the wow factor a 7
Okay.
because I do agree with what you're saying. I do think it was filmed beautifully. I think they did a good job. Like I do think there were some moments that really were kind of like, holy crap, like they filmed this in one shot on a stage or whatever. Like, so yeah, I think I would give it a 7, a little higher than the average movie you'd see.
Cool. So,
Please don't make me do
would
math. I can't add them all up. I
would
don't know.
you?
I don't remember my
No, we're not
scores.
doing that. Would you recommend people watch this movie, and who is this movie for or not for?
Who is this movie for? I'm gonna say, if you're very into like, obviously, if you're very into learning about people's lives, if you're very into theater, if you like going to Broadway, if you like inspiring stories about people making a beautiful life for themselves, it's definitely for you. If you like a very plot heavy movie, if you like no dragging. If you like movies in color, like some of us, I would say this movie is not for you.
Okay.
What about
Fair
you?
enough. I would definitely recommend this movie for somebody to watch. Probably not one I'm going to watch over and over and over again. I think once is probably good enough. I don't think younger kids are going to like this movie just because
It takes a lot of attention span.
because it is black and white. That's part of it. I don't feel like, the plot is going to hold their attention. But otherwise, I see why it's in the top 100.
I was literally just about to ask you that question.
And
I was
I think it
literally
should
going to
be
say,
in
do
there.
you see why it's on the list? So you think it should be on the list?
From other movies I've seen, I think it should be. Yeah.
I don't know if I can answer whether it should be, but I can say I see why it is. I see why it's on the top 100. I get it. I will tell you,
totally
I saw the like poster and I was like, what is this? There's no way this movie belongs. The Yankee Doodle Dandy. What is this? There are others you see on there like Casablanca, which I haven't seen, but everybody talks about all the time. And I'm like, okay, I get why that's on there. Yankee Doodle Dandy. I was befuddled, but I get it now. After watching it, I do get it. It's a very good movie.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a very good movie. I almost wish we had filmed this like right after we watched it, because the second it finished, I was like, do you remember? I was like, this was amazing. It really was very good. It was a really good movie.
I've been singing, like, the songs have been stuck in my head for like
a
week and a half now.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was going to happen, but some of them. I'll just start singing Yankee Doodle Dandy in my head all the time. Like,
you weren't doing that before? I think the rest of us were.
Not. So I think what we're also going to do is we're going to rank our own top 10, right? And see how our top 10 differs from the top 10 of the list that we're, the top 100.
So as we go up, we'll not.
So as we go up each week, we will rank one, and they'll fall off the list if they don't hold it up there. And so I'm curious to see how
I don't remember.
Let's take a look. So let me share my screen here, and I will go ahead and rank. Let's see if I can even get this to work.
While he's looking at that, I will say, we were thinking of doing like a snack component with it and talking about what we ate during. I don't know that we're going to do that anymore, but I would love to know your favorite movie snack options with 100 movies to watch.
Mine?
No, I want to know if anybody listens. I would love to know their snack ideas,
their recommendations.
Yeah,
I'm down. So the next movie that we're actually going to watch is North by Northwest. It's an Alfred Hitchcock
I never heard of
movie.
that one either.
I've never seen that Alfred Hitchcock movie, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. But can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can. I'm not going to look at the list, by the way. I'm just excited to finally get to a point where I'm like, I recognize that movie.
So here's Yankee Doodle Dandy. Can I get a drum roll? Since it's the only movie we've watched,
it's number
1, baby.
It is for me too. I won't go through the drama.
We will see if it remains.
Making you see my screen, but mine will stay up there too.
So we'll update that every week and see how it goes. See if our top 10 are the same as the critics and the rest of the world's top 10.
Obviously, our opinion being more important than any critic. So
I mean, of course, we're experts.
We're experts at talking.
We've already demonstrated our expertise. Yeah.
Random numbers thrown out. But yeah, that's how the experts do it. We're those guys, Siskel and Ebert. Mm-hmm. And then there's the
Bert
Muppet versions of them. Yeah, but there's actual Muppet versions. Anyway, we're the Muppet ones.
The Muppet ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for listening. If you enjoyed the content, please like and share it. And if in the future there's another list that you think that we should do, let us know, and we'll try to work on that next. But we're going to keep working our way through the top 100 movies of all time. Next week, we are going to release our review on North by Northwest by Alfred Hitchcock.
Who?
See you then.
No, I'm just kidding. Bye.